Yeah, so imagine he was like actually doing that with a plane, like going like that across. What if it still flew? He probably would have figured it out. Anyways, this team they flew pretty high last year. I mean, Super Bowl's not too bad, but can they follow it up with another Super Bowl? Or are they chopped? Well, they definitely got better, so they're probably chilling. And with that, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to Fun NFL. Please like and subscribe. Hope y'all are ready for the Seattle Seahawks. We're finally on to the Super Bowl champs as their season starts. I think, what is it? Let me do the math here. Yeah, the math. Let me do the math here. All right, 19th, 3 weeks. Jesus, what have I cracked? From Wednesday, which is crazy. That's insane to think about. Preseason week 1's over. We'll talk about some of the stuff that went on with them. They didn't really play well at all. That game kind of sucked. Cowboys Seahawks. But yeah, preseason's going on, obviously. We'll get over all the reaction to that over the next couple of days. I guess we can just kind of talk about this. But yeah, Seahawks, they won the Super Bowl last year, as y'all know. Preseason games that I didn't react to yet. Let's think about this. I don't think any of the Friday games. They all kind of sucked. The guy, Charles Douglas, there's Loki, he'll be the number 1 receiver going into the season. I mean, that was an absolutely just an insane catch, guys. Or Caleb Douglas for the Dolphins. Oh, my God. The Broncos game, Cooper Rush played. Bad pick six to Jahdae Barron. That'll help him in the tier rankings, that being Jahdae Barron. And then, obviously, Tua muffed the snap. The Bucs game, not really a ton happened here. Who was the Jets quarterback in that one? Brady. Oh, yeah, oof. Bailey Zappi, he had a rough one. He's going to probably get cut after that game. It was bad. Other than that, not really much went on. Bears game, obviously, everyone's talking about the Deshaun Watson versus Deshaun game. They both sucked. Like, there's really nothing else to go off of there. Really weird first game at Highmark. Their uniforms were so bad. Vikings-Giants game was miserable to watch. Odell got open a lot, which was cool. Rams game, Ty Simpson was lighting the world on fire. Jags-Saints, Hunter Deckers kind of forgot he was a lefty. Just tells you what's going on in that one. Then the Ravens-Eagles game, that low-key in terms of like most eye-opening games was definitely that because of the O-line play and D-line, really. Cowboys-Seahawks, like I said, that game was bad. So, yeah. But anyways, as we get into the Seahawks roster here, sorry with that tangent. Again, if you have not watched past roster rankings, please go out and check out the Jags one, which is the first one we did back in May. That'll tell you all you guys need to know about this. Again, we have 2 more teams after this. Just keep that in mind. It's tier week is right upon us. But anyways, quarterback situation here for the Seahawks as we get into this. Obviously, it's literally the exact same room as last year. There's not really much else to say. Sam Darnold, of course, is going to be their starter. He had the best year of his career last year, really pound for pound, at least not statistically. But it's kind of crazy how his career has gone. After being a pretty damn big bust, after the first series with the Jets, he obviously had a somewhat promising end of the 2019 season despite the weak schedule. And obviously the meme season in 2020. He gets shipped over to the Panthers, starts out 3-0, and after that, not really anything else happens. 2022, he was serviceable when he played as a backup. And then 2023, he had that one start versus the Rams, and then, again, as the backup to Brock Purdy. Then 2024 goes to the Vikings, lights the world on fire, and then absolutely shits the bed versus the Lions and Rams in those last 2 games, one of those being a playoff game. And then last year, just decides to go out there and win the Super Bowl and fry the Rams after throwing 4 picks in them against them at SoFi the first time. Simply put, Sam Darnold was incredible last year. He obviously had his turnovers here and there, but this team won 14 games, guys. There's no way around it. Sam Darnold got the job done when he needed to, and despite him obviously not being the main vocal point in this offense, it's safe to say that he got it done. We'll talk about this this Seahawks offense as a whole and their identity in a little bit, but again, so much. I'm already gonna get into it. So much of it's predicated on how on the volume of their run game, and you'll see about that. Drew Lock's their backup. He didn't really play at all last year, as you might have expected with how many games they won. But he obviously had an extended period starting with the Giants in 2024. He was okay, 6 touchdowns, 5 picks. There's not really much else to go off of. He had a lot of turnovers late in downs, which was an issue. But other than that, there's not really much else to say. He got the ball in late neighbors, I guess. He had a couple of decent starts for the Seahawks in 2023. It'll kind of make sense he was back here last year. And obviously, before that, he was an absolute bust for the Broncos. So it's good to see that Drew Lock is kind of finding his footing here. We got Jalen Milroe, third-string quarterback. I don't really think anything's going to change here. He still really can't throw a ball to save his life. Really good runner, of course, but how much can we really say off of that? He still has a lot of development to do. Before they can trade him, because that's what they should do. For me, though, the Seahawks quarterback situation, I'm going to say it's a B. That's a really firm B too. I want to give Sam Darnold a B plus because he does deserve it. But again, you can't sleep on Sam Darnold. Is he a top 15 quarterback, you could say that. It's just hard for me to give it because I think borderline top 10 guys should be B pluses. I don't really think he's that guy. It'll be very telling this year, but still, he won a Super Bowl. He was a huge part of their run. I got to stick it at a B, though, because, like, realistically, guys, like, it's like last year everyone was like, oh, he sucked in those last 2 games of the season. Like, what the hell's up with him? Then he goes out and wins the Super Bowl, and you're like, yeah, he proved the doubters wrong. But, like, it's just hard for me to give him a B plus because how much does he really elevate this offense? Still, though, I'll probably say a B plus. I'm not comfortable with that grade, but he does deserve it after the season he just had. It's just hard for me to do it because, like, overall, is he really that guy? Like, it's a tough situation to be in there. But Sam Darnold, he does deserve a B plus, especially after last year. It's just hard for me to do because, like, you know, he's not that good. All right, guys, now we're going to look at the skill position group here for the Seahawks, and it's definitely a group that took a hit with, again, some of the offseason activity, but outside of that, it's literally the exact same group as last year. First off, the receiving core is so good. I really like what's going on here. We'll get to that in a minute, but first off, we got to talk about this running back situation, which is very peculiar. First off, Zach Charbonnet is going to be injured to start the year. He remains on the PUP list. I'd be shocked if he starts the season even remotely ready to go. 12 touchdowns last year, a career high. He was really good in 2024. Last year, despite, again, a pretty decent workload, really didn't play awesome. Biggest problem was his broken tackle rate per attempt was definitely down, and he wasn't as decisive getting into those bigger holes. Something that, again, that hasn't really been it's been something that's, again, gotten better throughout his career, but still not something that, again, we've completely seen. He's the best running back on this roster, though. It's not really even that much of a competition between him and Price at this point. But still, you'll get Zach Charbonnet. You're like, is he a number 1 back? Absolutely not. So it's it's a tough thing to look at here. Again, losing Kenneth Walker, I think, is a bigger loss than a lot of people would want to admit, despite his inconsistencies at times in his career. There's Jadarian Price, who's again their first-round pick, not really a second-round pick. I like this pick in terms of the value because he was the second-best running back in this class, but he's a far cry from his teammate in what's his name? Jeremiah Love. But let's be honest, guys. If I add the college stats too, he has not had over 124 touches in his entire life. So it's just hard for me to kind of think this dude's going to be able to carry a huge workload. Obviously, he's a ridiculously efficient back. He is so good at finding the quick call and take up the 4 yards. So very high ceiling with him. On top of the fact, our floor with him, and also on top of that he is a very explosive guy. He has very, very good burst out of the backfield that can get those 10+ yard gains. On top of that, solid pass protector. It's just as a receiver, he's not really developed yet, and I don't really think his awareness in terms of some of these nuances against zone, it's just not really there. So some of those raw things need to get better. Still, though, he should be a solid player in this offense. It's just he's a rookie. He's not a guy that has even had number 1 experience since high school. So it's hard to kind of piece together what's going on there. Then you have George Ulani, who, in my opinion, I think he's just an absolute chud. To be fair, he really didn't get any actual opportunity to play a lot last year. Again, 22 carries, but most of those were basically just third down, wasted carries. But yeah, I don't think he's very good, guys, to be honest with you. I don't, obviously him and Genty have played together in the past, but who is this dude? The new Emmanuel Wilson, this is a good guy that has had legit experience in the past. They kind of brought him in from Green Bay. He's still not a guy that I like a lot, just because of the fact that he's a very stiff runner, and it's very, very hard to see him fitting in this offense where, again, you look at a lot of the successes of a guy like Kenneth Walker, it's him being able to bounce across holes. That's not something he's really going to be doing a lot. And in shotgun, he's a very unusable back, so it's very, very hard to use him that way. But still, there's definitely a lot of situations where you're going to get a good play out of him. Again, back-to-back 500-yard seasons is legit as the backup. I think we'll definitely get a chance to play this year. Also, to be honest, he wasn't really good in the preseason game either. So we'll see what happens for Emmanuel Wilson. He is definitely the second most, I'd probably say. I'm confident right now. Again, Jadarian Price, he's probably the most talented guy outside of Charbonnet, but it's just hard to say. For me, though, I don't really like what's going on in this running back room. I'm going to give them a D+. That might be really harsh for some people. Obviously, Price is a good player. It's just not a running back room I don't want to deal with right now, especially with, look at last year, how many times they ran the ball. It's just hard for me to see that working out. All right. And again, they weren't exactly that efficient either. Now look at this receiving core. This is a group, like I just mentioned, or a little bit ago, is super duper deep. You have 5 guys here that I am very, very impressed by, and a guy like Emmanuel Henderson, who looked really good last game, despite that offense being pretty bad. All right, JSM, if he's not the best receiver, he's not the second best receiver in football, he's the 3rd or 4th. He, in my opinion, has the most advanced route tree in the entire league. There are several routes you watch him run where he completely stems it the other way and finds a way to get to the spot for Sam Darnold. Also, him and Sam Darnold have elite chemistry. There's no way around that. That's part of the reason that he had the season he just had. Still, though, the separation rate is up there. And for a guy that isn't, again, profiled as a true deep threat, the way he's able to climb up on receivers and make it very, very cornerbacks and make it very, very hard for them to read the ball is an elite trait that it's very, very hard to find. He tracks the ball so well as well. Body control is just there. Jackson Smith-Njigba is such a controlled player, and with him being able to, cut the change of direction and the acceleration as well as the agility, that being top tier are just reasons for why he's so good. On tape, though, it's kind of hard to talk about his game because most of his routes are just so they're so different than other receivers. You look at a guy like Cooper Kupp. Obviously, I'm not gonna say honestly, 2020 Colin Cooper Kupp versus 2025 JSN. Biggest difference is that the routes they run are so different. While Cooper Kupp isn't exactly a straight, point-to-point route runner, he's a guy that still has those defined cuts. With JSN, a lot of his cuts are rounded out, but they're in a way that make it harder for the cornerback to kind of adjust in the route. And then when he adjusts it, he can cut back up. These sort of, again, like I said, nuances in his routes are so hard for defenders to predict. And for that reason, JSN is that's why he's the guy. Again, obviously coming off a season where he had 1,800 receiving yards doesn't hurt either. Then you have Rashid Shaheed, who I think is definitively their second receiver right now. He's just so fast. Obviously a bombshell waiting to go off. I think he definitely didn't have the greatest start of the year with the Seahawks, or time with them. Obviously 18 total games with the bye week and with the Seahawks. Anyways, like that. That's how it works. It's so weird when players again. I really expected Emmanuel Sanders back in 2019 when he was with the Niners and Broncos. That was such a weird time. But anyways, for this Seahawks team, again, like I said, he didn't really get going completely. A lot of his routes were definitely more I want to say clear out routes, but they kind of were. And again, when he was able to make those big plays, it was when the defense was in one high, which I think is something he's going to have to adjust to and kind of be able to play the ball a little bit more instead of just trying to blow open the defense. Still though, even if he's a guy just trying to blow open the defense, it's a good guy to have, and obviously he is one of the best returners we have seen in a little bit. Rashid Shaheed, absolute beast. Then you have Cooper Kupp, who's without a doubt going to be their slot guy. If he's not, he can play X. Obviously, career low in receiving yards. You look at Cooper Kupp. Really, ever since that 2021 season, he's obviously had a precipitous drop in receiving production. He's washed at this point in his career, if we're going to be honest. Still, though, productive year in Seattle last year. He was clutch against the Rams. I'm excited to see what he can do this year. Hopefully, maybe get up to 600 yards again, but who knows? Receiving yards per game obviously is going down every single year. That's really all I have on Cooper Kupp. Obviously, he's one of my favorite players ever. He's my guy. But yeah, we know what's up with Cooper Kupp at this point in his career. All right, Torrey Horton, a guy that could be pushed to get in the starting lineup times. Obviously got 5 touchdowns and 13 catches last year. The injury was obviously really frustrating. He's a very explosive guy, not in the sense of just straight speed, but again, he just blows open defenses just by his overall instinctual awareness there, on top of the fact that you just get, again, great, and I mean great release packages out of this guy. It's very, very fun to watch. And at the top of the route, he creates so much separation. Not quite during the route, especially these crossers, he's not quite as good on. But you talk about a guy on an out route, he's going to create, again, just off the physicality alone, ridiculous separation. So Torrey Horton's going to be a fun guy to watch. Then you have Jake Bobo, who obviously really hasn't gotten completely on his footing so far with the Seahawks. Again, he had a pretty fun 2023 season. The past few years hasn't really gotten targeted a lot, but he's a really solid special teamer, and he's a guy that has really solid body control in the red zone, which is a valuable piece for this team. Then you have Emmanuel Henderson, who I like a lot out of Kansas. This is a guy who, while I didn't particularly love in terms of being a prospect, since he's shown up here, he's just been an absolute dog, great work ethic. And while he still hasn't really been able to nail down some of these in routes, the fact that he's still able to create enough separation, kind of adjust to some of these balls and be a guy that can box out and be a physical presence is impressive for my opinion, because that was not something I saw with him at Kansas. Then you have Cody White and some other guys that are going to be fighting for maybe definitely not a roster spot. I don't even know if Henderson will make it. We'll see what happens. But for me, this receiving core, I'm going to give them a A-. That might be a little bit high for some people, but is Shaheed a legit number 2? Not really, but it's a really good receiving core, guys. It's definitely really underrated. Obviously, trade deadline acquisition in Shaheed. Is it a true This is hard to say. Is it a definitive top 3? For sure. It's just they don't really have a true number 2, so it's kind of a weird thing going on there. But I like what's going on. I'm going to say an A-. Now we move over to tight end. Again, B+, which I think would be really solid too, but JSN deserves it, so we're going to say an A-. Tight end now. Really good top 2 after that gets a little bit tougher to talk about. Obviously, A.J. Brown is a starter. There's not really much else to say here. He was really, really good off play action last year. Still not a guy that I completely trust over the middle of the field, but the fact that he can run stem those out routes and those corner routes and really differentiate them makes it hard for those linebackers to stay with him. And obviously, as a blocker, he's very, very good. They have Elijah Arroyo, who's definitely their more receiver-esque presence here. He's a guy that is, while not great inline, he still has the respectability as a blocker to be able to kick out and still show that versatility there. Obviously, for him, he's going to be guys who want more of these quick hitters underneath, and he'll make some yardage after that. On top of that, he's a guy that over the middle of the field can really do some damage. Then you have Eric Sauber. He obviously had that huge catch to beat the Rams last year. He's been a vet for, I don't even know, forever. He's not particularly good, but I mean, hey, he made that catch against the Rams last year. Then you got Nick Vannett, who is the ageless wonder. He's 33 now. He's been on basically every team in the league at this point. He didn't play at all last year. I don't really know what's going on with him, but he's been on teams in the past. That's what I can say. Good teams, but he's still been there. Now we go to tight end. For me, overall, I'll probably say it's a B-. We'll say a B. Barner's a solid player. I think that they got, again, Orioles has high potential. We're going to say 16 points there. That's all I have for the tight end position. Now let's look at how good this O-line is. All right, guys, now we're diving into this offensive line for the Seahawks, which was one of the better overall in football last year. Not maybe by the run efficiency, because they didn't create as many yards as I think they could have last year, at least not off of the tape. But overall, this is still a really good group. Obviously, left tackle, the guy that got a massive contract, that is Charles Cross. Took him 9th overall a couple years ago. He had a really fun rookie season. Then he had some injury struggles through 2023 and 2024. Last year, though, really put it all together. He had, I guess, some injury issues last year, too. But Charles Cross is a very, very good player. Very, very athletic. It's so hard to get him, even on the edge or on the interior. Again, you can't really beat him laterally. You have to beat him just through power, and even then, it's a hard task to do that. He's not the greatest run blocker, but that's never really been something they've asked him to do. Like, again, consistently lead blocks and kind of penetrate that way, and for that reason, he's a very, very good guy for the system, and honestly, he's had a really good career up to this point. Now you have Josh Jones. He's the backup here. He's been a vet. He's been bounced around a little bit. He's never really been a guy that's really got any sort of true starts. Obviously, he did play actually well. Again, he blocked really well for Sam Howell, who's kind of moving around. And that, not Sam Howell, what the hell am I talking about? Freaking Milrow, there we go. And he's a good run blocker, I can tell you that, at least against backups. But he's definitely a guy that has inconsistent technique, which is the reason that he's not going to start. Gray Zabel, this was the best interior offensive lineman in last year's draft. He certainly played like it last year. I'm not going to act like he was, like, again, like a first-team All-Pro. He wasn't that good, but as a run blocker, he was a huge part of this team's O-line. And then you just look at him in terms of the functionality as a pass blocker. It's very, very hard for anyone to really land a first punch on him. You have Bo Stevens, this is his backup. He was, again, 5th round pick out of Iowa this year. He's very aggressive. The problem with him is the fact that he doesn't really get off the line too well, so that could be a little bit of an issue if he had to get in the field, but he's a tenacious run blocker. He's a very, very good guy when it comes to pinning guys in terms of leverage on the interior there. You have Jalen Sunday, their starting center. Last year, I think he was okay. I'm not really the biggest fan of him just because of the fact that he does get beat by faster interior dudes. He does do a decent enough job against power, though, which, again, is definitely a redeeming quality of his, but he's not my favorite guy. Then behind him, you have Olu Tutami, who's played in the past as well. He's gotten absolutely torched when he has played, so that's not great, but he is a guy that is going to be a little bit on the higher end in terms of upside because he's an athletic guy, and his technique, at least in terms of camp, I've heard is tremendously improved, so that's good. Then Anthony Bradford here, right guard. He's a really good player as well. Not someone who's going to really blow you away in terms of any physicals or on tape, but he's a guy that is very, very technically sound and really down or down. He doesn't really change what he's going to do. And I mean, again, obviously some subtle things from what's on the tape, but still, Bradford's a very consistent player. Christian Haynes, this is a guy that I really hope cracks the starting lineup. He's a very talented player. He played for UConn. But really the problem with him, again, he had an interesting rookie season, but really looking on last year, he just didn't really consistently wasn't really cutting guys off in the when they tried to cut inside on him, and especially you look at these guys that have these like swim moves or speed rep moves. Those sort of things are definitely things that you struggle with as a pass protector, and until that really changes, it's hard to see him getting on the field consistently. Other side, Abraham Lucas, obviously he had a very fun rookie season in 2022. After that, he struggled with injury, again similar to Charles Cross. Last year though, really solid season, especially in terms of the run blocking. He had again really good overall tape there. Then you have Amari Knight. This is a guy out of UCF who I don't really expect to play a ton. He's lit up camp from what I've heard, and he also had a really solid preseason game. Like I'll say that, well, the offense wasn't really successful as a pass blocking unit. They were really solid. For me, this offensive line is really complete. Again, the depth is also pretty talented. It's just the fact, again, there's some question marks there. I'm gonna give this O-line a solid B. I'd like to give them higher, but Sundell's not my favorite. You could argue it's a B plus. I'm gonna say we'll say a B. 6-12, what is that? 16 points to this O-line. That's going to be pretty solid. And if we add it up, 45, 9, 30, 16, and 16, that's going to be 116 points for this offense, which you might not think is definitely a little bit underperformance, which is a fair thing to say. But overall, really solid group. I'll say a B for this offense. Now let's see how good this defense looks. My goodness. All right, guys, now we're going to dive into this Seahawks front seven to start out. They do run a 3-4, so it's going to be a little bit better to get through. But again, we'll start these linebackers, get into the D-line, then these edge rushers. And I'm telling you right now, this is an absolutely ridiculous and ridiculously deep D-line. It's something to behold. All right, Drake Thomas is going to be their probably more of their sub-package linebacker here. He had a electric season last year, to be honest with y'all. In coverage, while he wasn't fantastic in man, he was very, very instinctive in zone, which set up a lot of good plays for the rest of these guys. Like you look at a guy like Kobe Bryant, who obviously is now with the Bears and will be out at the start of the season. He had his best year of his career partly because of the fact that Drake Thomas carries so many guys, especially in Tampa, too, made it very, very hard on these quarterbacks to kind of layer the ball over him. Yeah, and man, he got beat sometimes, definitely a little bit overmatched, but he was good on closing on the ball. He's not the most consistent tackler overall. It's it's not particularly because his technique is flawed. It's just because, again, there's times where he doesn't completely wrap up. And then you look at him in terms of an actual run defender, his eye discipline is really solid. I didn't really see any plays where he got completely pulled off. It's just sometimes he isn't at his instincts we see in coverage really don't translate as much to straight downhill. I think that kind of decisiveness could kind of help him out this year. Again, I hope that's a bigger part of his game because, again, if he's a little bit more aggressive, he could be a real playmaker. But, yeah, Drake Thomas had a really good season. He's also a very useful blitzer. Next is Ernest Jones. He is one of the better blitzers at linebacker in football. Again, he doesn't really have some insane sack numbers, but his pressure rate's always near the top of the league. But at the same time, last year wasn't quite as active as or really since he's gone to Seattle, he hasn't been as active as a true blitzer, but you look at him and just overall as a run defender, super rangy, and just the fact that he can make so many plays in coverage, even if he's not really playable in man, it's a really hard combo to really make up, and just the fact, again, there's not many guys that are going to make as many plays down as Ernest Jones. He's really, really good. Again, is he an elite linebacker? Maybe not that, but he's very close. He's filled anyone's shoes that has been here other than Bob Wagner really well. Tyrese Knight, this is a dude, in my opinion, that is going to be a very crucial player for them this year. 2024, he was, I think, okay overall. He got, honestly, in my opinion, too many snaps. He was just indecisive when it came to closing on holes. Last year he took on blocks way better, though, and I think he had a little bit less of a snap count. He had a much more consistent season. But Tyrese Knight's a big guy in their defense in terms of being able to maintain run gap integrity. Then you have Patrick O'Connell here. He's gotten some playing time. He's literally just a special teamer, though. He's had some injury struggles as well. This is a dude, though, who's not really particularly athletic, which is going to hurt his playing time. Chaz Surratt. This is a dude that has played in the past, especially with the Jets in 2024. He's not good in coverage, so that's really the big thing I'll say about here. He's definitely fighting for a roster spot. Chris Paul Jr., very talented player, but he doesn't have great instincts, and I just think overall, and you look at the Rams cutting him last year as a fifth-round pick in 2025, there's not something translating in this game. I don't really know quite what it is, but he just doesn't really do a lot out there. Linebacker for me, though, I'll give it as an A-. It's a really good duo there. And while the depth isn't amazing, Tyrese Knight's a very underrated player. I think the depth there really needs to be spoken for there. All right, now move to the D-line. This is obviously one of the better groups in football. Leonard Williams is a flat-out elite guy here. While he's never really been quite that awesome as a run defender, he's always been near the top of the league in terms of block shed. And you just look at the pass rush, it's ridiculous, to be honest with you guys. He has 5 moves in total. He's got a forklift move, which he moves off the speed of the power. Then he's got a twitch move. I don't even know how to describe it. It works so well, though. And then he obviously has the rip move and obviously the club move. That's his tool set, and it served him really well over the past 2 years. He's flat out been one of the more dominant defensive linemen in football since moving to Seattle. I can't tell you a rhyme or reason other than the fact that he's obviously had good coaching, but yeah. Leonard Williams is an absolute monster. Behind him is Mike Morris, who actually gets on the field a little bit. He's more of a kind of goal line sort of type of guy. He's very good at displacement, making it very hard for offensive linemen to kind of gain ground. Same time, though, he's practically useless as a pass rusher, so you're going to get what you're going to get out of him. Byron Murphy, huge step up last year after an inconsistent rookie season. He obviously had 7 sacks. Was that partly because he didn't really get many double teams last year? Yes, but his power game completely turned up. And again, he's a guy that gets off the line so fast. And again, the fact that he's really able to cross the face of these guards so fast is a huge reason why he was successful last year. Also, really good run defender, even if he's not exactly the most consistent in terms of holding up gaps. Brandon Pilley, I'm not going to lie, guys, I have no idea who the hell this dude is. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. He might have been on the field a little bit with Seattle. I probably watched 5 total snaps of this dude in his career. Flat out never seen him play. Sharon Reed's here. Last year he was okay, I think, overall. He obviously hasn't been the same player since that 10.5 sacks 2018 season. He had a couple decent years in there with Seattle after that, but at this point in his career, he's kind of a serviceable starter. He's not that effective against the run just because of the fact that he is not a guy that's going to consistently be able to maintain his gap. Same time, though, he still has some pass rush juice, so again, I don't think Sharon Reed's anything special at this point in his career, but he's at least, a third guy here. You got Riley Mills, who could definitely crack the starting lineup here. He's not really that good at all, but the biggest thing with him is that he does have a legit bull rush. So we'll see what happens there. And then I don't really know what's going to go on after that. So the depth definitely drops off after. But again, the fact you have these 2 guys here, it's kind of hard to ignore it. I'm going to say they get a B+ in this D-line. And you might be like, what the hell? No, screw it. I'll give it a A-. Again, those top 2 guys, it's hard to argue with that. I'm not going to lie to y'all. 6'12", what is that? 20 points. Even though it kind of gets a little bit questionable after that. All right, now go to the edge rushers. They don't really truly have a true number 1 guy here. But DeMarcus Lawrence last year had a huge bounce-back season. After really not being that good at all in Dallas in 2024, after, again, obviously having the injury. Last year, the pressure rate wasn't anything special, but he was great against the run, and it was really, really hard for guys to really tell what his moves are going to be, because he obviously has the ghost move. But off the ghost move, he had a really good speed to power, and then on top of that, there was really good inside counter on him where he basically faked the cross chop and went under it with the club. And those two things really worked well for him last year. So, well, he didn't exactly have like some elite season or like anything like earth-shattering from what we've seen in the past. He was, again, as good as he always is a run defender, and honestly had a better season in terms of the pass rush efficiency than we're used to seeing. Still, though, is he like anything special at this point in his career at 34? Not really. But hey, he's still doing his thing. Chinnowosi's on the other side. This is a very talented player. He is definitely the most athletic and burst-filled player on this defense. But honestly, since that 2022 season, he really hasn't been quite the same. He's been a little bit more of an efficient guy in terms of pass rush, really in his entire career last year. Biggest reason for that was he was a much more decisive going upfield. Still, though, you look at him as a run defender, as a guy who really isn't going to be that effective. They didn't really put him in the field in a lot of those situations for a reason. But Chinnowosi's still a guy, again, despite his game changing pretty drastically, is still a starting caliber player. Dante Fowler's here as well. He really hasn't been good since that Week 7 game versus for the Commanders. Again, he had a kind of ridiculously unsustainable 2024 season. Kind of came back to earth last year with the Cowboys. Really didn't get in the rotation a ton. Simply put, he was not that good. Like a lot of this rush is stalled. He's had a really inconsistent career though. Obviously had a miserable 2021 season or 2020 season with the Falcons. He was a little better in 2021. Still pretty bad though. Had a couple decent years in Dallas, and then again the Commander season kind of popped off. But this is a dude. He's a boomer bust player for you, and I would not try to put my eggs in his basket. Then you have Derek Hall, who had a really inconsistent rookie season. Again, for a guy that was picked 37th overall, not rookie season. What the hell am I talking about? He's been on this team for like 4 years. He hasn't really put it together. Again, he had a pretty, I guess, electric 2024 season, but I'm not going to lie, guys. Some of that sack numbers were created kind of just scramble yardage. Last year, just overall, he was not getting to the edge really the way you wanted him to. And just overall, again, attacking that outside shoulder was not a big part of his game. And until that really changed, it's kind of hard for me to see him be an effective player. Definitely had a tough year last year. But still, again, this run defender was solid. Jamie Sheriff, get off my screen, and then I don't even know who else is there. Definitely not the greatest depth here. I mean, Jared Ivey, this is a guy that's played in the past at Ole Miss. Yeah. Like, he was a beast for them. I mean, did he have horrible Ben? Yeah, but, like, he was doing his thing. But anyways, for this Seahawks pass rush, overall, again, it's really good. I don't think it's, like, the best in the league, but it's still really good. We'll say, this is tough. I'll say a B+. That might be, like, people are like, what the hell are you talking about? But, like, the edge rushers really aren't, like, awesome. And, again, the interior is pretty damn good, though. I'm going to say a B+. That might take some people off, but I'm going to stand on that hill. All right, or die on that hill. Let's get to the secondary now. Okay, guys, moving to the Seahawks secondary. Obviously, they took an absolutely massive hit losing Kobe Bryant this offseason, but does it really matter? Because they have some of the best guys in secondary football. Also, they lost, what's his name? Rick Woolen, but this guy's better. All right, Devin Witherspoon is probably the second best cornerback in football right now. No, I'll say third. He is the most versatile guy in any secondary and any defense in football. You could argue Kyle Hamilton's right there. He's obviously the best safety in football there. The real thing I'd argue though is Devin Witherspoon can, I think, legitimately cover anyone you put in front of him. Like anyone. That's the thing. Like, you could put anyone on him. He'll lock them up. And while he's not some earth-shattering run defender that's going to completely blow up every single hole, he is so good at getting those crevices and making those plays. He just is. That's his bread and butter there. Devin Witherspoon, though, he's obviously one of the best quarterbacks in football. I don't really need to say much else there. Michael Dansby, this was a risk take for them just because of the fact that they don't really have a ton of depth in the secondary right now. Dansby is an aggressive cornerback. There's no arguing that. But he gets beat so consistently over the top. It's bad. But when he reads the play out, again, it's probably going to be a pick six. Dansby has great instincts. It's just the fact that he is very aggressive. Across from Witherspoon's going to be Josh Jobe. He's kind of the guy they kind of picked on last year. He had a ridiculously high target rate last year. I think he's a little bit better in zone than Rick Woolen. The problem is he is not a guy you want to consistently see in man. He just gets picked apart underneath. And while his tackling is decent, just the overall, I want to say aggressiveness, but he gets knocked over too much. I don't really see Josh Jobe as a true starting corner. He gets just picked on too much, but he is a guy that I think does do a decent enough job at combating some of these deeper play routes, which is huge. So, at least he's got that. Terrion Arnold, while he's an absolutely horrible human being, and he definitely shouldn't be in the league, he's a very talented player. There's really no way to argue that. He's got elite length, great long speed when he's feeling like running, and obviously the man coverage capabilities are up there. The problem is, again, he really hasn't put it together. He had a ton of penalties his rookie season, and then last year just wasn't really healthy, never really got on the same page as the guy like Brian Branch. Still, though, Terrion Arnold was on the field as a really good player. It's just the fact that this guy is like an absolute like piece of shit, and a lot of people are we're not very happy with that pick up there. You have Julian Neal here. This guy's an absolute shut out of Arkansas. He's not a bad player. It's just he definitely has his moments as a run defender. Still, though, definitely an interesting guy there. Nick Omonowori. He's probably the most athletic player in this entire secondary, which is saying a lot. He had an incredible rookie season. He has elite instincts. The biggest issue I have with him right now is he's not making poor plays. No, he's an absolutely elite player. I loved him last year. It was just the fact that he was a little bit raw. Didn't really seem to matter, though, because he just was absolutely dogging it out there. Then you also have Noah Igbenogany here. Again, former first-round pick. He's a talented player. He had a couple decent years with Washington the past couple years. The problem with him last year was he, honestly, while he didn't get targeted a ton, he didn't really do a good job at closing out on some of the longer passes. But still, he's is capable, and he's a solid depth piece for them. Honestly, guys, this cornerback room I like a lot. It's just a problem that you got a bunch of, like, just straight-up chuds in here. I'll give them an A. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's hard to beat that. Screw it, A+. Yeah, I'm giving them an A+. What? Again, is Terrion Arnold an awful person? Yes. But is he a legit #1 corner when he's healthy and, figuring things out? Yes. Omonowori and Devon Witherspoon are like the best players in their position in football. I'm giving them an A+. All right. Safety now. Ty Akota is not a guy I trust at the moment. While he is a very technically sound guy in terms of tackling and is very, very good in the open field, he is not a guy that I see being very effective in coverage. And while, yes, he will be in the box most of the time, as a guy who's going to be playing basically every single down, he's got to be better than he was last year. DeAnthony Bell, solid depth piece. He's going to be on the special team unit this year. Not really much else to say there. Julian Love's the guy that's going to hold the fort down. He's been doing that for a couple of years now. While last year he wasn't quite as effective, again, obviously the injury keep in mind there, as he was in like 2023. He really, ever since that last year with the Giants, he's been a borderline elite player. Next, but again, what is he now, 30? Yeah, he's 28, never mind. Bud Clark, I haven't heard of this guy's name in a minute. No, I'm joking. Bud Clark's going to basically be their, he's going to be their, honestly, I'd be shocked if he doesn't play over Ty Akota. He's not a box guy, but he was probably like the second or third best cover safety in the draft this past season. He played cornerback for a couple years there at TCU, and then not TCU. Then he obviously transferred over to safety. Last year was absolutely electric. Again, he's a little older. He doesn't have the greatest hip fluidity, just again with his overall game, but still it's pretty solid. And I do think as a run defender, he's kind of shit. So, yeah, his tackling can definitely get better. But still, Bud Clark's going to be a playmaker there. Rodney Thomas was a starter in the past, but I don't even know if he'll make the roster. No, we'll see what happens there. For me, though, this safety room's kind of unbalanced. Bud Clark should be the starter at some point. He hasn't really, I guess, quite impressed in camp. I'll give them a B at safety. It's just the fact that, again, you have a really solid guy in Julian Love coming off a bad injury, and then a bunch of, like, who really cares? 30, 20. But, yeah, Bud Clark. We'll see what happens with them. 36, 24, and 24. 134 points for this defense. That's going to throw them in the B+ tier. I'm going to, put them in the B+ tier. It's a really good defense. There's just some holes some places. Yeah, let's see what this special teams unit and then the depth of this team look like before we see if this team can repeat. Okay, Seahawks special teams. Right now, it's the best in football. I really don't have anything else to say. Jason Myers has been one of the best kickers in football for a while. He's been on this team since 2020. Or 2019, my bad. He had obviously that perfect 2020 season outside of the extra points. That was kind of weird. But yeah, Jason Myers, he's been kicking for a long time. He's a really good player. Michael Dickinson, he's been their punter for even longer. He's been around since 2018. He's really good too. Rashid Shaheed, I think pound for pound is the best returner in football. Chris Stoll's a solid long snapper too, and just overall this special teams unit is an absolute unit. What is that? 3, 6, 9, nice, 12 points there for the special teams unit. All right, depth, quarterback depth. B. Running back depth, D+. Receiver depth, B+. We'll say we're at like a B- so far. Tight end depth, I'd probably give a B-. So we're probably at what? A B- so far overall. The O-line, I'd probably give a B- too. So I'm going to say offensively we're at a B-. Defensively, just like honestly looking at it, I'm going to say we're a B+. A A-. Yeah. I'm going to say a B+. Yeah, probably a B+ for the depth of this team. Honestly, outside of running back, there really isn't one position that doesn't have at least decent depth. And I think, yeah, B+ is solid. Again, like I said, depth's a really hard position to get up there. Category to really get, into the A tier with. But I think they're pretty close with it. I mean, there's really not one position where I'm like, what's going on there? Identity, though. This team, honestly, in essence, is an overperforming beast. Is that even a thing? Yeah. But you look at the Seahawks last year, guys, and really the roster, again, they lost some key pieces. We know that. This team really wasn't, like, in terms of the pedigree, that good. What really made it that happen was the fact that Mike McDonald got that defense playing at a level where it was really hard to just gain like 5 yards against them, which in a lot of defenses is an exhausting way to play, but hey, they made it work. Offensively, they run the ball a fuck ton, and they run play action off of it, which is so like casual of a freaking analysis, but kind of what they did. Is it going to work this year? No, unless Jadarian Price is the second coming of Jesus Christ. It's gonna be a hard season for that on offense, but Sam Darnold, we'll see what happens, bro. You won the Super Bowl. Still, they're going to be in a good spot. Mike McDonald knows what's going on. It's still, they got the Rams in their division now. But again, the amazing culture there. They're going to have another really good season. It's just how good. So, yeah, anyways, we had all their points up, 12, 36, 45, 134, and 116. That's going to the Seahawks 343 points for this roster. That's going to throw them in the A- tier, which is where they belong. This is a really good roster. It's just there's some positions that obviously are a little questionable because they lost some guys. But still, we'll see what happens with this team this year. They probably won't repeat, but they'll at least try, and they'll probably beat the Rams at the Link. But anyway, not the Link. What the hell am I talking about? At Lumen Field, because that's what it's called now. But that's all I have for y'all here. I hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll see y'all for the next team tomorrow.
They've started the foundation to help other families in a similar situation pay for all their medical needs. Wow, look at Stewart leaping and then staying on his feet and picking up the first down.
Iheanacho, number 29, with penetration. How about that vision and cutback ability? And what's the finish by Jonathan Stewart?